in second last night with only one out, and Kimbrel did start warming up. So I thought, oh well, maybe we will see him. And Kelly was able to get a ground ball, double play, so that ended the game. But if Kimbrel's gonna get out of it, that'll be great. But I want him to have a lot more looks, because if they need to change plans going into the postseason, I just want them to at least be prepared. And he definitely needs to step up his game. And we'll get into that a little bit more in a later segment. But, Chris, who would you like to call out?
Well, with me being a Yankee fan, I have to pick Aaron Boone just for the sheer fact that I think the series at Fenway showed that he's a rookie manager and he made rookie mistakes, but he should still be called out for it. I think the Chapman situation in the last game of the series, I mean, you can blame him for however you want, but it's a team thing. But at the end of the day, the way he managed the bullpen in the first game of the series kind of set the tone for the remainder of game 2, 3, and 4. So, and I get, the Yankees swept Chicago. They took today's game against Texas, but I'm sorry, I can't be giddy over teams that have one team has 40 wins. Texas feels like they get beat every night. So it's just a matter of what are the Yankees going to do in the wild card.
Yeah, and I mean, Holder was definitely kind of thrown in, the Shark Tank there, and I did see him pitch. I don't know if it was last night or the night before, but he seems to be, I don't think he's going to have any lingering effects from this series.
I don't think he will.
Some background static or thumping. I don't know what it is. All right, so we'll get into the Yankees more in depth, in a later segment here. So let's just get into some of the moves the Red Sox made. Austin, what do you think of the Pomeranz move to the bullpen?
It's like a blessing. Now I don't have to stress out as he struggles through the first 2 innings of every single start that he's pretty much ever had. And I don't have to worry about him tiring by the 5th inning and hanging a curveball that ruins everything. So, like Chris is going to tell you, he's going to succeed out of the bullpen. His velocity will be up, and I think it's a good move.
Well, go ahead, Chris.
Austin, you said it correctly, and I'm glad that you pointed it towards me. His ERA out of the bullpen is a sub-3 compared to what it is as a starting pitcher, where it's close to the 4s. And this is a guy in Pomeranz who has not been able to complete a major league season without having some sort of nick or knack in terms of an injury. And for Pomeranz, if you want to be able to win a World Series, you have to make a sacrifice, just like Price will probably end up having to do. And I still think he's going to go to the bullpen as well. But going back to Pomeranz, his success is going to be out of the bullpen.
And that's very possible. I mean, we don't really have any lefties, to call upon right now. And I mean, I'm fine with it. The only concern I have is how long can Brian Johnson be sustainable in the 5-hole where his fastball tops out at about 88 miles an hour. Sometimes it'll creep up to 90. But, he averages right around 88 or so, 89, and he does have an effective curveball. So, I mean, it's almost like he's a knuckleballer in a way. He relies definitely heavily on his curveball, and then the fastball kind of keeps them off balance. But he's kind of a rookie. I don't know if he technically is or not. I mean, he's bounced around quite a bit. The last couple of years. He's old school.
Let's put it that way. He's old school.
Yeah.
He's not going to mow you over. He's gonna actually sequence his pitches and actually pitch the ball instead of just try to throw it 100 miles per hour and basically mow you over.
Right. If it works, great. And I was a little worried last night because this Blue Jays lineup likes to mash, as we have seen tonight, and I just thought, well, this is probably going to be the time where he gets hit pretty hard, but he didn't. He pitched a great game, and he gave up that 3-run shot late, but I'm not sure that necessarily happens in a closer game, whether he's more focused or maybe Cora just decides to go to the bullpen if it is a little closer. Maybe Brazier comes in or Barnes or even Hembry for that matter. So I don't know. I guess it just remains to be seen. And then when Erod comes back, then there's going to be another painful decision because Johnson wasn't that great as a reliever. I mean, that's why his ERA was blown up the way it was. And,
that's why he's starting instead of Velasquez.
Right, yeah.
Because he's better as a starter, whereas Velasquez, I believe, would be better as a long reliever like he is.
Yeah, and Velasquez has good stuff. I mean, he would be viable, as a number 5 starter, I feel like. But right. He does seem to be more comfortable coming out of the pen for sure. Yeah, so have to agree with you there. But it seems like, once Erod comes back, we're going to have nothing but long relievers. Pomeranz, right. Johnson, and Velasquez, if they all stay. It's going to be interesting to see what the playoff roster looks like. And it can change each round, from the ALDS to the ALCS. So it'll probably come down to matchups and whatnot. So,
well, let me reiterate something for everybody listening. Pomeranz is the only left-hander in that bullpen. The only one. So that's something to think about, that this Red Sox team has been able to function this long and throughout the year without having, a lefty arm in the bullpen.
Yeah, so much for analytics anyway. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to watch, but when Erod does come back, Johnson will have to go in the bullpen, barring an injury or whatever to someone. And speaking of injuries, Chris Sale will return Sunday, which is kind of curious because I'm assuming we're going to kind of tool on the Orioles a little, so I don't know if that starts critical or not, but
I think they just want to get him back into the rotation, and they don't want him to hit in Philly, so that's why they put the start right here.
That's actually an excellent point. Yeah, the Philly series is coming up, so do you know who's going to get that second start?
No, but I can find out.
Okay, no, I it only went as far as the first game, and I think was that oh no, that's even TBA, so I don't know who's starting either one of them. Pivetta will be our first opponent, so hopefully we don't have Nola one more time. I'd like to avoid that guy.
Yeah,
absolutely. Let's see. So, was the Sale injury legit though, or was it just no?
It might have been a little soreness, if anything.
Yeah.
If it was anything at all, it's like, hey, I got a little bit of discomfort, and maybe, just obviously he's cutthroat, doesn't want a day off. He's Chris Sale. He's a psycho. So the Red Sox management basically forced his hand and put him on the DL and gave him a couple starts off.
Yeah, it sounded like he kind of went along with it, but so
got to make your management look good,
right? Yeah, well, that second half slide is pretty ominous, and I guess his first start in August, I saw somewhere that he has a 6-something ERA, in his first August start. So I don't know how much of it was by design, but Chris, what was your thoughts when you heard that Chris Sale of all people was on the DL?
I was probably one of the first ones to maybe not really overreact by it because I looked at the overall situation of, okay, he went on the DL right before against the Yankees. New York has hit him quite a few times if you date back to when he was acquired from the White Sox, in December. And it's, I think of it as, that you're probably going to see New York, if they can get by in the wild card and the division series, you'll see them in the CS. And you don't want them to see Sale 1, 2, or 3 more times before then, because after a while, you know who. I mean, it's one thing to say I know who the guy is, I know what he throws, and this and that. But the more times that you see him, the more comfortable you become. And for the Red Sox to avoid that and give him maybe a couple days off, because, I mean, look, they won without him. They swept New York and didn't need him. So I think that says more about the Red Sox and their dominance than not having Sale. So I really wasn't too concerned about it. And also, too, Terry and you and I were talking about in the last time I was on the podcast that, remember Trevor Bauer said something about body fat, and I texted you right after, and I said, hey, Sale, even if it is a real injury, this is a guy who has a hard time being able to sustain, go 200 innings. I get the delivery and his lankiness and how hard he throws, but this is a guy who over time cannot pitch in a full season, and you have to worry when his contract comes up next year, are you going to give him the money that he's going to command? Because it's only going to get worse as he gets older.
Well, at this point in time, I definitely do, but I mean, maybe we don't, render the verdict so fast. We got to see how he's managed for the rest of this year, how he responds to whatever plan they put in place for him, and then next year as well. So, but
it's also going to depend on whether he adapts like a Verlander or a Scherzer has throughout their career. If he somehow, maybe develop something. Well, it's hard to develop a curveball out of that arm slot or something in that like manner to where he doesn't have to throw 100 miles per hour. I mean, I think that makes him worth more money than anything else.
And that's a good point. And I've always been worried about his delivery. It's kind of especially with his fastball, a pretty violent delivery. So you just kind of worry about his elbow, but there really is no history of any injuries other than basic fatigue. So I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. I'm glad we have him, and it's interesting that he's missed a few games, and with this big lead, we'll also have the luxury of maybe skipping him another start or two, down the road. So we'll see. And actually, Chris, go ahead.
Go ahead, Terry.
Well, I was going to say, I thought I heard you say we were going to meet in the LCS, but it'll definitely be the LDS right away.
Yeah, because we'll play the wild card team.
Right. Yeah, because I mean we should be the number 1 seed unless we fall off a cliff.
Real quick on that Saturday start on the doubleheader. I wouldn't be surprised if Velasquez starts it, just because BJ's the other option, and do you really want BJ pitching on 2 days rest? I mean, we go Evaldi. We go Evaldi tomorrow, and then you go Price in the morning, and then it's TBA Saturday night. And then you have Sale on Sunday, so
I was going to touch on that when we previewed the series, but I was kind of curious that they ruled out Pomeranz already, and didn't really consider him for that start. But, I mean, I guess you have to consider that, Velasquez could be possible. Well, let's see, yesterday was Wednesday, so that would be 1 day short for Johnson, wouldn't it?
Yeah, he would only get 2 days rest.
Oh wait,
because he started yesterday.
Yesterday was Wednesday, and then that game is Saturday. No, so that's 4 days rest, or 3.
Thursday, Friday.
Oh well, true. Yeah, he's pitching on the 3rd day, so yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, okay, 2 days rest. Yeah, so I mean, it would almost have to be Velasquez, or maybe they just go back on Pomeranz and say, well, we kind of have to.
Yeah, that would be a bad look.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he took the bullpen assignment bad. I mean, remember when Buchholz got really?
He knew it was coming.
Yeah, I'm sure, but he still was pretty snarky with the media. When he found out about it. Similar to basically Matt Harvey earlier this year with the Mets. So So yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, they'll have to announce what tomorrow, I guess, right?
Probably.